were some great photographs sent in by you regarding or showing this morning's fog. Brittany over in Whitney sent this one. A great one from Mark Wiley over in Corsicana. I love the flags and the fog there. And Andrea down in Covington sent this one as well. Very thick fog, and that dense fog advisory, of course, ran through 10 a.m. this morning. And then Debbie Johnson over in Grand Prairie, just barely able to see the sun shining, rising really, and just incredible pictures. And we may see a few more foggy days. Of course, that happens largely when you have the temperature drop below the dew point. We've had low dew points, but we've had some cool mornings as well. So just be prepared for that and get used to using caution out on the roads, because that's just kind of something that we see here in North Texas from time to time, and it can get pretty dense down in these rural areas. So that has burned away now, and we are looking at temperatures right around the mid to upper 50s here. Now further east we are seeing fewer clouds, but really area wide we haven't seen that much cloud cover today. It's still on the way, but I expected more clouds earlier in the day today, at least, but they are on the way, and we'll look at that in a moment. Overnight tonight, we don't cool down too much because we will have those clouds coming in, and that will hold in some of that daytime heating. So we are above normal for our lows. Daily almanac today, really the sunrise and sunset times kind of stay the same. Third quarter for your moon phase. And I want to get right into the weather because there's a lot to cover here. First of all, I talked about the clouds that are headed in. They're kind of hitting some of this drier air. So they're kind of hitting this barrier here. And yeah, a few more clouds in Johnson and Hill counties than east of there in Ellison, Navarro. But we will, as we see this system moving in, we will see those clouds increasing throughout the rest of the afternoon and the evening. And we put the radar on here, you do see that rain, and we will have more of that moving in. We will be seeing rain increasing tonight, and we could get some heavy rain out of this deal as well, but I think we're not going to have to deal with any severe weather with that system. So I want to time this out for you and give you an idea of what we're expecting. This is pretty much going to be a overnight event. 8 o'clock tonight, we'll see that more organized rain out towards San Angelo to Abilene up into the Panhandle. By 11 o'clock, that'll be knocking on our door here. It shows a few showers popping up ahead of this as this system starts taking advantage of some of that Gulf moisture. I think that will be the case, that we will see a few showers here by the time we get to 9, 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock, of course, that is the main body of this will be knocking on our door. And by 2 a.m., yeah, that'll be moving through. Again, could see some heavier rain in here, but I'm not expecting severe weather. Just to kind of reiterate that. And then by 5 a.m., I think we're starting to wrap this up from west to east. Now, it may take a couple of hours to really clear everything out, but it looks like by sunrise, we pretty much should be done with this. Now, I do want to talk about the polar vortex that everyone has been covering and everyone has been discussing on social media. There are a couple of things I want to talk about here, namely the fact that, number one, the polar vortex is a normal phenomenon far to our north, really northern Canada here. This is not something that is somehow new or a new phenomenon. It's just something that has been talked about more recently than we have really seen in the past. Or at least, I'll say this, the polar vortex has become a buzzword much more than it was in the past. So here's really your kind of normal situation. The polar vortex is up here in closer to the Arctic Circle here. So it kind of holds all of these colder temperatures in. These are sub-zero temperatures here that you see in kind of this gray and this darker green here. So that's really what's normal. What you watch for, and what I'm watching for when I check the sources from the UK to Canada, all these folks who would get any kind of effect from changes in the polar vortex before we would, you watch for distortions. And normally the polar vortex, it just keeps all of this out here, but you can see those distortions and changes that will allow this cold air to sink southward. Right now, models are in disagreement over exactly where the cold air goes, but there is a pretty good agreement at this point, pretty good consensus, that we are seeing and will continue to see changes in that polar vortex to our north. This is looking at temperatures as they were this morning, and as we continue to watch this over the next, I would say, 7 to 10 days, there is expected to be an intrusion of colder air into the United States. Now again, there's a disagreement among those models exactly how far south it goes, what we're looking at in terms of that reality, whether or not we're going to actually see that affect North Texas. So we just have to wait and see what the models tell us. But I will say, if you're in Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, yeah, you should probably count on a pretty good push of cold air over the next week or so. But again, as far down as Texas, not sure. I can tell you, I don't think we're going to get down to 3 degrees like that one screenshot from like a week ago showed. I don't think we get that cold. But could we see a cold snap come from this? It's possible. But models are they keep going back and forth. They're too unreliable this far out to see what's going to happen. And right now we're looking at probably the 14th or 15th in terms of something possibly happening from this. But again, even that could change. So stay tuned and I'll keep this in the updates for you. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and the other thing you're probably going to see, is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now, this is saying 6 to 10 days. I think part of this is accounting for the storm systems that are coming through, because you see a pretty good low temperature differential, or I would just say lower temperature differential for Las Vegas to Phoenix, almost to Santa Fe. And I think that's, again, accounting for these systems that keep coming in. They're keeping things relatively cool in those areas. But what I want you to see is that in the 6 to 10 day, we transition to the 8 to 14 day, we keep lower than average temperatures in the western US, and you see it expands up to the north here. I think they're accounting for the likelihood that we'll see at least some temperature differential on the lower end in this area with that change in the polar vortex that would, I'm disagreeing between saying could and would, which would, trying to be careful with my words here, which would allow some of that colder air to move in. Now you notice they're not pushing any of that down this way. I think over the course of the next several days, if the models continue to agree in the Arctic intrusion reaching our area, we will probably see that adjustment in these outlooks. But for now, they're playing it safe, which I think is right, and pretty much focusing the temperature changes up to the northwest. Again, down further south, I think that's more accounting for the systems that keep coming through. I mean, we've seen that, right? These train of systems. But we'll be watching what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the Weather Prediction Center and all these agencies, we'll be watching to see what they do in terms of these trends, to see what their thinking is. And we'll see how the models handle that as well. But let's get into what's actually going to happen in the next 7 days, the forecast that I really consider reliable. Tonight we do have that 90% chance of rain. I think pretty much all of us are going to get rain tonight. A few rumbles of thunder are possible, maybe some heavier rain here and there. I'm not expecting severe weather. 56 today, 55, really 56 is on the low end. I think we will get a degree or two higher than that, especially as you get into, Navarro County, that area. But I think that's our average for today. Tonight, we don't really get that cold with those clouds. And then tomorrow, 55, we should be clearing out. Again, by sunrise, I think most of that rain is out of here. 37 overnight tomorrow night, 55 Saturday. So really, Friday and Saturday, I think, are pretty similar. And then Sunday, we start warming things up. Of course, I had to correct that on the page earlier today. We're getting close to 60 with a breezy south wind and sunny skies. Our next system arrives Monday. The chance for severe weather still staying to our south for Monday. I'll be monitoring that as we get closer, but for now, looks like a few showers and thunderstorms, or a really widespread rain, a few thunderstorms, but the severe stuff stays south of us. It will be windy, southeast winds 10 to 20 miles per hour, so it will be a windy day as well. We're right around 60. Tuesday, a few morning showers possible as that system gets out of here. Highs right around 50, so it will be cooler. And then Tuesday night, we're looking at the possibility of a decent freeze across the area. And then Wednesday, we start warming up again. But just pay attention to the fact that these 3 days are pretty windy. So Tuesday, windy, cool. It's going to be kind of a blustery day. And then we're warming up again by Wednesday. So stay tuned. We have showers, a few thunderstorms possible tonight. Monday, our next system comes in. Could be a few more thunderstorms, and I'll be watching to see if that severe weather threat changes at all. That tries to move further north. And then I will be watching farther out in that forecast to see what the changes in the polar vortex will do again. For now, it looks more likely that that Arctic air stays north of us, but the models are in big disagreement right now. We're going to have to get closer before we start to see what that consensus looks like. So stay tuned for more updates from South Metro Weather.